Tonight, the sun will go down, and within seconds you'll have light. A switch, a phone screen, a street lamp outside your window. You won't think about it at all. But for almost the entire span of human existence, that moment, the sun dropping below the horizon, was the start of something else. Something we've almost completely forgotten how to do. Most people assume the answer is obvious. Ancient humans went to sleep. The sun went down, the world went dark, and there was nothing left to do but close your eyes until morning. That's not what happened, not even close. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors spent their nights doing something far stranger, far richer, and far more important than simply sleeping through the dark. And the way we abandoned it might be one of the quietest losses in human history. Let's start with what night actually meant before fire. Without fire, a human at night was just another mammal in a world built for nocturnal predators. Our eyes are weak in low light. Leopards, hyenas, and wolves see far better than we ever could. So when the sun set, the smart move was the same one every other primate made. Find somewhere safe, go still, and wait for daylight. Fire broke that rule. Once early humans controlled it reliably, a burning circle of light became a wall predators wouldn't cross. Inside that ring, for the first time, the dark stopped being something to merely survive, and it did something else nobody expected. It gave humans extra hours. Without fire, the useful day simply ended at sunset, maybe 12 hours in summer, far less in winter. Fire stretched that window. Suddenly there were 2, 3, sometimes 4 extra hours every night, hours with nothing demanding to be done. No hunting, no gathering, no urgent task. So what filled them? Researchers who've spent time with modern hunter-gatherer communities, groups still living close to how humans lived for most of our history, have noticed something remarkably consistent. During the day, conversation is almost entirely practical. Where the food is, who's doing what, logistics. But after dark, around the fire, the entire texture of conversation flips. The vast majority of what gets said at night isn't practical at all. It's stories, myths about how the world began. Tales about people far away. Jokes that get the whole group laughing. One researcher who documented this for years argued that this nightly ritual, not the campfire itself, but what happened around it, might be where human culture actually started. The first stage. The first classroom. The place humans first learned to imagine things that didn't exist yet, and to carry those imagined things home with them in their minds. But the night held something even stranger than stories. Something modern science only rediscovered a few decades ago, and something that quietly disappeared without anyone noticing it was gone. You were not built to sleep the way you sleep now. A historian who spent over a decade combing through centuries of old documents, prayer manuals, court records, personal letters, even ancient literature, kept finding the same odd detail repeated again and again. People didn't describe sleeping through the night in one block. They described 2 separate sleeps. People went to bed not long after sunset, slept for roughly 4 hours, then simply woke up. Not from a noise, not from worry. They woke because that's what their bodies did. They stayed awake for an hour or 2 in the middle of the night, then drifted back into a second 4-hour sleep until dawn. This wasn't a disorder. For most of human history, this was just how a normal night worked, and the gap in between wasn't wasted time. Old manuals described it as a window for quiet thought, for working through dreams while they were still fresh, for simply lying in the dark and thinking clearly. Some physicians of the era even considered it the best time for the mind to do its deepest work. For a long time, historians assumed these were mistranslations, oddities of old language. Nobody could imagine sleep working any other way than the one solid block we know now. Then, in the early 1990s, a researcher ran an experiment that accidentally proved the old texts right. He took a group of volunteers and removed every source of artificial light from their lives. For weeks, their nights stretched to roughly 14 hours of total darkness, just like nights before fire extended the evening. Nobody told them what to expect. But within weeks, every single participant settled into the exact same rhythm the old documents described. 4 hours of sleep, a stretch of calm wakefulness, then 4 more hours of sleep. And when researchers checked their biology during that quiet middle window, they found something unexpected. Hormone levels associated with deep calm and meditative states were elevated. The participants described the period not as restlessness, but as something close to peaceful. A distinct state of mind that simply doesn't exist for most of us anymore. So if this rhythm is built into us this deeply, why did it vanish? The answer is almost insultingly simple. Light. As street lighting spread through cities in later centuries, then cheap candles, then gas lamps, then finally the electric bulb, the dark stopped being something humans had to retreat from. And as artificial light pushed further and further into the evening, that ancient two-phase sleep pattern simply collapsed into one continuous block, compressed and rushed by comparison. Here's the detail almost nobody connects. The word curfew comes from an old phrase meaning, literally, to cover the fire. Towns used to ring a bell each night, signaling everyone to put out their flames. Not for safety, because night was supposed to be dark. Walking outside without a lantern after dark was illegal in plenty of old towns. Night belonged to danger, mystery, and rest. Nothing else. We didn't just push back the dark. We erased an entire psychological state that used to live inside it. Today, most of us are bathed in artificial light for hours after sunset, especially the blue light pouring out of screens. Your brain can't tell the difference between a lamp and the sun. So when light hits your eyes late at night, your body assumes it's still daytime. Melatonin gets delayed. Sleep gets compressed and fragmented. And the rhythm that took hundreds of thousands of years to build gets erased in a single generation. Remarkably, it doesn't take that long to bring back. People who spend even a single week camping with zero artificial light often find their melatonin cycles reset within days, shifting back towards sunset instead of hours after it. The old programming is still in there. It just needs the dark to remember itself. So maybe the next time you wake up at 2 in the morning and can't immediately fall back asleep, it's worth asking a different question. Not what's wrong with me, but what if this is exactly what your body was built to do all along? What if, for one quiet hour in the dark, you're not malfunctioning at all? What if you're simply remembering something the rest of the world forgot how to do?